Hi, this tutorial is about sensing. We're going to learn how to um, uh, make it possible for one sprite to sense that it's touching another sprite. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to change the costume of our cat. And so we're going to click on the costumes and we're going to delete one, and then we're going to edit the other costume. So click on the edit button, and first we just want to use the select tool, which is this tool right here, and you just select your cat and all of it, and we're just going to press the delete key on the keyboard, and there it's gone. And then we're just going to make a small square. Remember, this is the rectangle tool, and we press down the press on the rectangle tool, and we're gonna, in this case, I'm gonna choose this one, and I want to make not a black square, I want to make a green square. So there we go. And now what I want to do in order to make a square, remember, I can hold down the shift key, and at the same time as I hold down the shift key, I drag across the screen, and there I get to make my square, just like that, right? Very good. So now I want to maybe position it sort of in the middle, right there, and that's okay, I think. So I click OK, and there is, and let's see, there is my costume right there. Now what I'm going to do is I'm just going to rename the costume. I'm going to call it Square, right? And oh, actually I should call it Green is better. And here I'm going to rename my square, and so what I do is I hold down the control key and I press on it. Actually, you know what? I thought you could rename it down here, but you can't. So it doesn't work right there. Where you want to rename it is right up here. So you select your sprite, and then up here you can rename it. And I'm going to rename it to, I'm going to rename mine to Square, right? And there it is, right there, the square, right? And now I'm going to create a new one, and the new sprite I'm going to create, instead of creating it from a costume I choose or a random one, I'm going to choose the one that I can paint myself. So I click on there, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to create two walls. So I'm going to create the line, I'm going to create two lines. So I select the line tool right there, and now I'll just keep it and let it be black, and then I can just, there, and you see how I'm holding it down now. I can drag a line. I'm still holding my mouse key down. As soon as I let the mouse key down up, that's the line I'm gonna get. But I want a straight line, so I'm gonna hold down the shift key, and by holding down the shift key as I still hold down my mouse key, I can make the line very straight. I can either make it straight in that direction, or I can make it straight in this direction. Now I'm going to make it straight down like that. Alright, and now what I do is I want to select that. So I click the select tool and I select that, and I'm going to do Command C on my keyboard, and that creates a copy of what I just drew. And then I'm going to put my other line right over there, right? And you can see like that. And these are, I have two lines there, and the rest is left blank. I don't fill it in with any other color, not the fill bucket or so, or anything like that. I really want to make sure that all this other stuff is not filled in any way. So once I've done that, I click OK, and there are my two my two walls. This sprite is my wall sprite. So I'm going to rename it, and right up here I'm going to call it walls, right? So now there's the costume of the walls, right? But where we want to put our code is actually in the square, because we want the square to sense when it's touching one of these walls. So, or actually, it will, anytime it touches anything that we colored in our wall sprite, this one is going to sense it. So go to scripts, and in scripts we're going to need a control, so we're just going to use the flag control. And then I'm going to use a forever loop, and we learned about loops before, so you should know a little bit about it. I'm going to put my forever loop, but right before my forever loop, I want to put in a variable, and you can do that under here, under the variable ones. And I'm going to make my own variable, and my variable is going to be called speed, and you'll see why in a moment. So the first thing I want to do in my script is set the speed to some specific amount. So I'm going to set my speed to be 10 in this case, or actually let's make it a little lower. Let's make it 5, right? And then once I've done that, I want to go into my motion, and I'm going to want my square to start in a very specific place somewhere inside of these walls. So I'm simply going to choose, let's see, go to X, Y. I'm just going to put it right in the middle there. All right, so we can change that later if we want it to be somewhere else when it starts off. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to make sure I'm in my motion control, right, the one up here. So it's the same one where I had the block that says go to X, Y. So now I'm going to move inside my forever loop. I'm going to move my sprite by 10, my square sprite by 10 steps. But I don't want it to move by 10 steps. I actually want it to move at the speed that I set up here. So I'm going to use my variables. I'm going to go back to my variables, and I'm going to click and drag this speed variable right into the move, right? And once I've done that, now every time the forever loops executes, this square is going to move the steps. Now the question is, how do I get it to actually sense that it's touching this and change direction? Well, there's a special trick here under sensing, which is that you can use this touching block that's right there. But we are going to want to change our speed. We're going to want to turn it in the other direction. And the way you can do that is to go back to variables and set the speed to, we're going to want to set it to something, right? But we are going to want to use a if block. We want to say if right there inside the loop, so that every time the loop executes, it checks for this condition. And the if statement that we want to use is the following. So we're going to go back to sensing. So we're going to say if touching, right? This is very important. This is the whole sensing part. If touching. And if you click on the little arrow there beside it, you get a drop down box, and you can change what you want to sense it if it's touching. And you can see say edge here, or the mouse pointer event, but we want to select our other sprite, which is the walls. So now it says if touching walls, and that's when we're going to change the variable, and we're going to set the speed to a specific thing, but we want to change the speed. So here's the tricky thing that we need to do. We take the speed as set. We're going to set the speed to wait, hold on, I forgot one step. We're going to set the speed to, and under operators we have this time. So we're going to set the speed to something times something as well. What are we going to set it to? Well, we have something. We're going to set it to the speed, and then we're going to multiply the speed by, very tricky, we're going to multiply it by -1. And when you multiply something by -1, you're simply going to change it to be either, if it's positive, you multiply it by -1, you're going to get 10 times -1, which is going to be -10. So it's going to start moving in this direction. Actually, you know, I realized I used the wrong maybe it will work with that one. Let's test it. Let's see. And if it doesn't work with that one, we're gonna make it move with using another motion block. So let's try this one out and see if it works. Set speed to speed times -1. So let's execute it and see what happens. So here, boom, and there it moves. Boom, it's moving in a negative direction, and there it's bouncing back and forth. And there is another way we can do this, and I'll show you. We could also simply take this, take out that, let's destroy that, and then go to motion. And what you're going to set is that you're going to set change x by, and what we're going to do is we're going to change x by and we're going to use the variable, we're going to use the speed variable, change x by, and we're going to see that it's going to work like this too. So let's see if it works, okay? So it went back there, and there is we change, and you see it's very much the same thing. So remember, this is the x coordinate, and this is the y coordinate. So we're changing the x coordinate here, and there you have it. That's how you make something sense that is touching another thing. Try it out.